Okay, everybody, so this is the third of our little informal get-togethers, and today I'm going to talk about the suit of coins, which is often called pentacles or pantacles or discs in various tarot decks through history. But I've decided to go with the term coins because it seemed the most sort of relevant to the subject matter at hand. And mostly they aren't in any way like pentacles, so there was no need to do that. But before we do, I actually want to talk for a second about the court cards, because we got into it a little bit last time, and I just want to kind of go through the pattern a little bit to show you what's going on with them. So so first of all, there's three different types of the court cards. Excuse me, four. And they're based on the sort of standard, king, queen, knight, and page. Although I've gone a little bit more towards the Golden Dawn formula, which has a prince and a princess rather than a knight and a page. So I've got these basic figures here. I can't see I see myself a little bit in the corner here. So these are the sort of basic format of them. And they all look similar to one another, although they're not exactly the same. I call them myself. This one is the poetess. This one is the philosopher. So the queen and the king are the poetess and the philosopher. The knight is the warrior, and the princess or page is the priestess. And so the reason that I'm mentioning this is because in each of the suits, that basically one of these figures is the suit. So all of the pentacles or coins are all these priestesses or workers, as you might call them, in all the images that you'll see coming up. And all the swords have a warrior in them, and all of the wands have a philosopher in them, and all of the cups have a poetess in them. And you can call them either those terms, or I also call this one the artisan, this one the philosopher, this one the warrior or guardian, and this one sort of the worker. And so there's a gender assignment to each of those, but I don't want you guys to feel like I am trying to put any sort of gender agenda into it. It was mostly just an artistic choice because as you'll see, the images are fairly small, so I wanted to have kind of consistent imagery in them so that you can easily tell which one is which, because as you'll notice, none of these are marked in any way, so you kind of have to know what they are to even know what you're looking at. So the reasoning for me behind not marking them was largely talismanic, as I mentioned, I think last week. But these it particularly applies to because they're these figures, and they each have these little helper beings in them, and I'm going to show you all of them in a second, real quickly. Let me get these back in order here. So basically, each of these figures is holding one of the images of Helios from the Helios consecration rite in the Greek magical empire. You can see she's holding a cat there. She's holding this image, cat, and then it kind of goes in a cycle through them. So she is the queen or the poetess of wands, but then in the cycle it goes to the king or philosopher of coins, and he's got a little dog in his hand. I'm just going to go through these really quick. This is the warrior of swords, and he's got a snake. He's not holding it in his hand, it's actually on his shield. I think you can see that there. And then it rotates back around to the queen again. The queen of, or the poetess or queen of cups, is holding a scarab beetle, and the king of wands or philosopher of wands has a donkey in his hands. Then the warrior of coins has a lion on his shield. And the Queen of Swords has a goat in her hand. The King or Philosopher of Cups has a bull in his hand. And on the card you can see it, but over the camera here, I'm just showing these so that it's a little easier to see. Then the warrior has a falcon, and the queen or poetess has a baboon, and then the king has an ibis, and finally the warrior of cups has a crocodile on his shield, which you can see if I get it close enough. Okay, so the reason I'm mentioning this is just so that you guys understand that there's like sort of a cycle of things. And so if you're going to do the Helios consecration rite with any of these cards when you're doing tarot magic with these cards, you can utilize those cards as symbolic representations of those things. But so let's in the book on the subject, I get into this a little bit more. And if you have any other questions, we can talk about it at the end of this. So the coins. Can you guys turn that down? Sorry, I've got people in the room who are doing other things. So as we get into the coins, I want to begin by talking for a second about all 4 of the aces, because they're different from the rest of the cards in the deck. Again, they don't have any sort of labeling on them, so you have to kind of know what you're looking at. And I've chosen what for me are sort of really, really strong representations of those energies in the Greek magical papyri. For the Ace of Coins, we have it's from PGM 7, the sort of lion serpents phylactery against daemons. For the Ace of Swords, it's a little bit creative in this particular thing because it's called the Sword of Dardanos, but it's not actually about a sword. But possibly the talisman part of it was supposed to be a sword. So this is kind of some imagery related to that particular spell. And then this is a phylactery from an Apollo divination or an Apollo invocation that is fairly well known as the Ace of Wands. And then finally, the Ace of Cups is from one of the more iconic cup divinations from the Greek magical papyri, which is the Aphrodite divination. And so the cup sort of has all the little barbarous names that are supposed to be put on that cup. So all of the aces kind of have a strongly talismanic quality to them. The Ace of Pentacles in particular is something that's fairly meaningful to me. It's a design that I've been utilizing for quite a long time in my life, and so this is very often in tarot decks people utilize the Ace of Coins or the Ace of Pentacles as like sort of a way of their personal symbol being put out, and in a way that's sort of true of mine as well. So that's the Ace of Coins. Last week I showed the 2 of coins, so I'll show it again. So the format of the numbered cards, basically there's a talisman at the top, and then there's a tableau that's sort of at least somewhat related to some sort of Greek pottery, and then at the bottom there is a quote from the Homer Oracle. And one thing I haven't mentioned is that I removed all of the what's what I'm looking for, the periods and commas and so forth that were put into this by the translators and editors, so that it's just the words that are there. And sometimes that doesn't really change the meaning of it, but sometimes it actually opens it up to a lot more interpretations. Of course, in the original papyrus that this was written on, there's no punctuation in it whatsoever. So this is more the way that it actually was written. And it allows you to, if you want to utilize this portion of it as a part of an oracle, that you're doing with, if you're doing a reading for yourself or for others. It allows you to sort of look at the text in a little bit more of a free form way rather than being influenced by, the punctuation that the translator put in there. What's interesting to me is that I haven't gone through every single one of these because there's over 200 of them, but I've gone through 4 or 5 of them, and I haven't actually found these to be actually, if you look at the Greek and then you look at the Greek of the Iliad and the Odyssey that these are supposedly from, they don't actually really match. So the translators that did this were sort of, they were being generous in saying that these things were totally completely out of Homer, at least the version of Homer that has come down to us over the millennia. So I mean, a lot of these things, if you look at the original Greek, it wouldn't translate to these statements at all. So they're already sort of a little bit free form from the original text to begin with. So so just to talk about this card in particular, the 2 of Pentacles or coins, the 2s basically they represent the beginning of sort of there being differentiation. You know, the monad, the 1 just sort of represents a thing in principle, and the 2s kind of represent it moving in different directions. And you'll notice each of the suits kind of takes it in a different direction. With the cups, they're coming together, and with the swords, they're coming apart. And so with the coins, they're sort of chasing after. They're moving from, a state of being in comfort and bliss to looking to get something, and that to me felt very archetypally what the 2 of sort of the earthly realm represents. So that there are 2 women sort of chasing after some coins that are rolling down a slight hill. In the Rider-Waite deck, it's a guy who's holding 2 pentacles, and there's an Ouroboros that is a infinity sign. So this is a different way of representing that. And the talisman that's on here is from the PGM 36, which has a bunch of these sort of interesting animal-headed or demon-headed figures in them. This particular one is for lust. It's for passion, and so these women are passionately chasing after the thing that they're trying to obtain materially. And the quote from the Homer Oracle is, "Or will you alter your purpose? The hearts of the good are flexible." So that's the 2 of coins. The 3 of coins, this represents, there's 3 figures all sort of doing something with a coin. And in my mind, this one is teaching the other 2 something. And so this is the 3 of Pentacles is often in the Rider-Waite deck. There's some people that are kind of talking about let me see if people come in. There's one person in there. I'm going to let him in. Is he coming? Welcome. So there's 3 women. One of them is teaching the other 2 something. And again, this is sort of emblematic of the number 3 and its nature. And you'll see in the other ones, there's different ways in which that triad is represented. The talisman in this one is actually a memory talisman, and it is the memory talisman, or the memory spell, where you write this down and then you lick it off of the papyrus over the course of time. And in the book, which I don't have in front of me, I have an alternate way in which you can utilize this card as a way of doing that spell in a different manner. And the Homer Oracle is, "And give him instruction, and it will be beneficial for him to obey." That's the 3 of coins. The 4 of coins, this one in a very unassuming way is kind of based more on the Rider-Waite deck than there's a few of them that have that influence in them. But so it shows one of the worker or priestess woman holding all 4 coins and the other 3 women kind of walking away, maybe not happy about it, maybe they're okay with it, maybe they're just sort of meditating on what they've done. But so the coins have all been consolidated into one person's possession. And the 4 of coins tends to be about sort of power and being in control of things. So the talisman that's at the top is actually based on a ring spell that is, I think, fairly well known because it's in Stephen Flower's Hermetic Magic book. It's the only ring that I think he discusses in it. My take on it is a little bit different. So the description of the talisman says that there should be a winged scarab with rays coming out of it, surrounded by an Ouroboros, and then on the back it should be the name of the deity written in hieroglyphics, or written as the prophets write it, I think is a more literal translation. So what I've done is I've taken the hieroglyphics for Ra, and basically the Ouroboros is a part of that hieroglyphic stream. So it's a little bit of a different take on the imagery. And the Homer Oracle says, staying right here, you would help me watch over this house. Oh, and I should mention, these choices aren't like random with the Homer Oracle, but they are sort of guided by non-rational ways of approaching things. So some of them fit more directly than others. So moving on, the 5 of Pentacles, or coins, it shows the coins are now they've become organic objects, and they're growing from a tree, and there's 5 women who are sort of in various ways wanting something, but not noticing that the coins are very close by. And so they're either sad or they're reaching out for things in the wrong direction, not noticing that what they're looking for is basically right in front of them. The talisman is a healing talisman. It's from PGM 33. And the Homer Oracle is, but on account of their accursed bellies, they have miserable woes. So that's the 5 of Pentacles. The 6, no, that's not 6. The 6 of Pentacles are coins. This is an interesting talisman that's up here at the top. The actual text, it has a very sort of like sketchy, swirly, cylindrical kind of shape, and the editors or translator suggested that it might be an Artemis of Ephesus. It's unclear whether that is really the intention, but I just went with it because I've always kind of found her to be a fascinating archetypal image. So some people call her many-breasted Artemis, but I actually think that's not actually totally correct. She's actually got a bunch of gourds around her. So while she has a lot of stuff, it's not necessarily those are all breasts, although you could interpret it that way if you wanted to. And the formulas around her is the Maskello formula, which is in the spell utilized as it's only indicated, it's not fully in there. So this is a little bit of an imaginative way of approaching that. The women are celebrating. The 6 coins are in their hands at the top there on their sides. They kind of switch in this particular suit. They switch around what they are, whether they're on their sides or whether they're facing the image. And they're sort of celebrating. The 6 of coins in the Rider-Waite deck, it's a guy who's sort of giving little amounts of money to the poor or something like that. So it's basically the energy of it is success and harmony, because the 6s kind of represent that that state of balanced harmony. And the quote is, "After giving a mass of bronze and gold and raiment." So that's the 6 of coins. Let's see if there's anyone. Nope, no one's waiting to be let in. So the 7 of coins, again, this one is a little bit reminiscent of the Rider-Waite, but obviously represented in quite a different way. The coins have become sort of things that are in the ground planted, so only half a coin is visible, and the women are waiting for it to be possible for them to harvest them, and that is pretty much the same kind of energy that the Rider-Waite deck has. The talisman is actually a talisman in which you are to take an egg of a male bird, which is an impossible task since having raised a number of chickens, it's not possible to really know whether it's a male or a female bird coming until it has hatched. But you're supposed to put this in a special Typhonian ink around the egg and plant it where you are doing your business, and it's a talisman for increasing your business. So it's related in that sort of way of being something that is, you know, implanted in order to create future results. And the quote from the Homer Oracle is, "A thing delayed, late of fulfillment, whose fame will never perish." So again, that's sort of a representation of that archetypal energy. The 8 of coins. This revisits the women who were working on the coin, and now there's 8 of them, and they're all sort of working in harmony with one another. If you're familiar with the Rider-Waite deck, it depicts a guy who's sort of hammering out pentacles. Some of them are hanging on the side, and some of them are that he's working on. And so this is, again, sort of somewhat reminiscent of that in a different way. The talisman is a talisman. This is actually an image that is very common throughout the gem collections from antiquity, the magical gems. This is a figure, it's Hermes holding a money bag and a caduceus. There are many examples of this in the historical archives of, you know, magical gems and stuff. In this case, this is in the Greek, in the papyri. You're supposed to build a statue out of wax of this fellow, and this is part of the spell underneath there. But so I mean, utilizing this in a different format, there's definitely precedence for this, since, as I said, there are numerous examples of this in the historical record for this exact figure holding as it is described in the Greek magical papyri, holding a staff in one hand and a money bag in the other. And then the quote is, "Nay, go to your chambers and tend to your own work." And this is that. I think that's a reference to the fact that, you know, this card to me, in when I'm doing readings, often represents sort of buckling down and doing the things that you need to do in order to get things done. And obviously, the talisman at the top is a money making talisman. So buckling down to get things done so that things go in the way that you want them to in your career and in your life. The 9 of coins shows a group walking along, all holding their coins in various ways. And the inspiration for this was kind of like a post-harvest. Everyone sort of, you know, taking their bit of the harvest and walking back to town with it was the kind of the energy that this image was intended to convey. The talisman at the top is actually kind of an unusual one in that it's sort of a bit of a you know, 19th century botanist kind of drawing. But this is actually an image of a wormwood root, which is what you're supposed to take a wormwood root and utilize some ink that has some various bluing qualities in it, and put these characters on it. You can see them a little bit. It's a little bit blurry, but and this is a talisman just for sort of success and people liking you and so forth. So I mean, kind of fits with that energy there, and it also fits with a sort of harvest feeling, since it's a it's a plant. I think that was the impetus to connecting these two bits together. And the Homer oracle is, of wheat or barley, and the heaps fall thick and fast. So again, it's got a very much a harvest quality. It says the meeting is going to end in 10 minutes, so we're gonna hurry. Well, luckily we're at the last of the cards for here, and we'll have a few minutes for questions. The 10 of coins shows the sort of classic Pythagorean tetractys, and the figures are all sort of kneeling and worshiping it. And the talisman is another statue that is designed to prosper a place. And so obviously this is about sort of like finality and prosperity and everything sort of coming together. And the quote is, fill up his ship with gold and bronze aplenty. So got through all 10 within the limited amount of time that we have. So questions, anybody have any questions? I see some comments in here. So. Do I have to unmute them? I don't know if I have to, but just go ahead and put your questions in the chat anyway. I think people can unmute themselves, but questions that I see in here. So people are saying hello from various places, and I love your artwork and the cards. Great job. Bravo. Well worth the wait. So well thought out. Someone asked a question. Is Medusa in this deck? No, except in the very sort of subtle form of Athena is in the deck, and she has her shawl has actually got Medusa's head on it, although it's not completely visible, and the snakes are on the shawl. So that's really the only representation of Medusa in this particular set. Okay, someone is asking, the cards are not marked, but does the guidebook have a list of which is which? Yes, and it should be fairly obvious. I will make sure I have the book in front of me next week when we talk, so you can take a look at it. Josh is asking if he can get a reading since he lives in Florida. Absolutely, although I'm happy to do a reading over this in this setting. I'm running out of time though, so I don't think I can really do it tonight. Next week I'll jump right into the cards, so we'll have, I won't go through all that stuff with the court cards again, so we'll have a little bit more time maybe to do a reading or two at the end. But yeah, I mean, here in Florida, if you want to meet with me somewhere, sure, absolutely. Someone is asking an update for the ETA of actual shipping. So what I'm told is that they're going to be in New York as of January 13th. And I think it should only be a few days after that they'll be in Florida, assuming that they move through customs quickly. So that's what I know right now. So we're looking at hopefully, mid-January the shipping will begin. I do have 400 orders, so by the end of January, hopefully everything will be up. That's my expectation at this moment in time. Okay, just people saying they're excited and stuff, and thank you. It's wonderful to have you be excited, and I'm excited. I'm super excited about you all having these. Final questions, and then we're gonna end it because it's just gonna stop any second now, I think. So all right. Someone says, how long have I had a love of Greek? Honestly, one of my first books when I was a kid that I really loved was a book of Greek mythology that I actually still have and I read to my kids sometimes. So my whole life, basically. So my love to you all. Yeah, all my kids are named after Greek and Roman mythology too. So. Okay, I'll talk to you guys next week. Thanks a lot. Thanks for coming, guys. Oh, there's still someone was in the waiting room. Sorry, Guillermo. I'll try and get you in next time. Sorry about that.